I think that we are really fortunate to be from such a cool place. You know, I love Chicago. It is often on the top list of best cities in the world, and we're really fortunate for that. I've gone and given presentations in places where there's 250 people in the town, right? It's really hard to get motivated when there's only 250 people in town. We are blessed that we have so many people, and in the service industry, that means that there's so much opportunity. One of the things that always strikes me about Chicago is, you know, we don't really have a lot of nature, right? Beautiful place, but it's a lot of skyscrapers, all man-made. The lakefront, that's not natural, that's all man-made. We reversed the river, right? We've made it flow the other way, so that was man-made. And I use that as motivation. I use that as sort of an idea of like, hey, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, whatever you want to get done, you can do it here. You can make it happen because we've made all this other stuff happen. So as much as I love Chicago, we're going to start this by going on vacation, all right? So for those of you that are with me, let's go on vacation. Where do you want to go? Jamaica? I heard Jamaica first. All right? So we're going to go to Jamaica. When do we want to go?
Now.
Now. Okay? That's fine. How are we going to get there? Plane?
Private jet.
Private jet? Okay. What are we going to do when we're there?
Snorkel. Everything.
Snorkel? Everything? If we were doing this exercise at home, or if we were really planning a vacation, this is kind of how it goes, right? I want to go to Jamaica, maybe not today, but like we're going to go during the season, we're going to get our plane tickets. What we're going to do there is we're going to get reservations at this restaurant, we're going to get our snorkel spot ready, right? And so we come up with this vision and a plan, right? We have a vision of going there. How many of us have been to Jamaica? Okay, a few, right? So for all of us that haven't, to say, oh, I want to go, how did we get that idea that we want to go? Right, you're looking at photos, you're seeing ideas, the advertising board tells you to go, right? So we get this vision of we want to go on this vacation, and then we have to plan on how to get there. I think it's easy when we do things like vacation to plan and have a vision for that. But sometimes in our career, we don't have as clear-cut of a vision, right? And so today, what I want to walk through is really kind of helping you think, what is the vision for my career, and what is my plan in order to get there? Whether it's with us or if it's with anybody. You guys could have chose to do anything with your careers or with your lives, and you chose to go to beauty school. Why did you do that? Because you love to do hair? You knew that before going to school? Yeah? That's good, right? Some people probably didn't know that. They got here, and then hopefully they started to love it, right? Or maybe some people are still going to find what they love about it later. But I think it's really important to be in touch with why you chose to do this. You know, that gives you more purpose, that gives you more of a mission than just saying, I just cut hair to pay the bills, okay? For us, I really believe in this statement, enhance people's lives. By building people's confidence, they're able to have better, more successful lifestyles. I think that it's not just the hair that we do, but how we treat the people in our salon and in our chair that gives them the confidence to go out and live their life. We are very fortunate that we get to see people before almost every major event that's planned in life, right? If you think about that, like they come to us before graduation. They come to us before prom. They come to us for job interviews. They come to us for weddings. They even come to us before funerals. And I think that it's remarkable that how we treat them and what we're able to do for them makes them feel more empowered to go into those situations. Now, I think that as professionals, we all are more confident in our work when we feel supported. If you haven't taken a balayage class and then you get a balayage client, you're like, oh, okay. So education can help build up that confidence. In terms of like building your career, the more support of having the right products behind you, having the education, having any other type of support, I think is there to help you build your confidence as a professional. When I think of that career that we're on, or our journey that we're on, there's sort of three ways to break it down. How many of us have a job right now? How do we feel about that job?
I hate it. It's cool.
Sometimes it's cool, sometimes we hate it. A lot of times, maybe we like the people that we're with, but jobs often take very little dedication, and they also provide very little financial reward. Next level can be a career. And I can't knock a career, but a lot of times people pick a career not because they love it, but because of the financial outcome that they seek from it. I had a client one time, she had just finished college, right? She had just gotten an internship. I asked her, that's so exciting, like what do you want to do next? And her actual response to me was, I just want to find something tolerable. And I thought, damn, that does not sound fun at all. I want to have a tolerable career for the next 30 years. Inspiring. To me, the commitment level is when you have decided what your lifestyle that you want to have is. Because then it takes it beyond the career, it takes it beyond just being a job, and you're committed to the lifestyle. The more dedication that you put into it, the more that you'll be able to get out of it. And when I say lifestyle, I don't mean that you're just working all the time. But what I mean by that is you know the vision of what you want, whether that's where you want to live, where you want to work, the car that you want to drive, the vacations you want to go on. You have a vision for that lifestyle, and then you can reverse engineer how you get there, right? If I want that, I have to do these things in order to get there. I would argue that these are sort of the three things that we're looking to try to have in our life. Something that we love, something that pays well, and something that we're good at. If we combine them and put them into the little Venn diagram, if it's only something that we love and we're good at, but it doesn't pay well, we're broke, but happy. Maybe. If it pays well and love it, but we're not good at it, that's a dream. Because no one's going to pay you well if you're not good at it. We're good at it, it pays well, but we don't love it. We're going to be rich and bored. The win is in the middle. Can we combine what we love, what we're good at, and something that pays us well? So in order to get there, we have to have passion for what we do. We have to have enthusiasm for what we do. I say that passion goes viral. What I mean by that is, have you guys ever had a friend go to a movie and they come back and they're like, this movie was awesome. And you're like, really? The trailer looked pretty bad. But their excitement for it gets you interested in going to see it? Does that happen? Yeah. I think the same thing happens in the salon. You know, a visit to the salon, it can be exciting or it can be boring or it could just be whatever. But it's our excitement as the provider that gets our clients excited about it. So if you are passionate about the color bar, who's passionate about color? Cool, right? About half. If you're passionate about color, is there anything that stops you from talking to any and every client that sits in your chair about color? No. It's just a conversation. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to sell them color. I'm saying you have a conversation about the color. So even if a client is only in for a style today, we can start a conversation and say, have you ever styled or ever colored your hair before? What was the favorite hair color that you ever did? Have you ever thought about changing your hair color? These are just conversation starters. But if you're passionate about color, I think that every person that sits in your chair should know that you're passionate about it. What about like barbering? Anybody passionate about that? A few? Okay. If we're passionate about barbering and we want to be able to do a lot of those type of services, then we need to find people that want to do those services, right? And so then if someone's sitting there and they're saying, oh, you know, I'm going to see my dad later for dinner, maybe you could say, what's your dad's hair like? Or somebody will often say, oh yeah, do you do men's hair? My boyfriend needs a new look. Yes, how does he wear his hair? Start that conversation. It's just a conversation, but if you're passionate about it, your passion will come through. And lastly, how about products? Some, a little bit of passion. Here's what I think about products. I think products are really important for us as stylists to use, okay? There's no way that our work will look good without the proper styling product. Typically in salons, when we get into selling product, you might get like 10% commission on those sales, which I fully understand is not like woo kind of money, okay? The thing to me though, is the product backs up your service. The product backs up the work that you just did. So if we do a client's hair today, how long before they wash and restyle their hair? A week, right? Maybe. So let's say it's a week. So that means that our work is going to look its best for a week. So depending on what their week looks like, how many people are going to see them, interact with them and say, oh my gosh, your hair looks so good. Where'd you get it done? Whereas if they have the best products and the knowledge to do it at home, then I get to extend the chances of me getting a referral because then their hair looks better more often. I also think that it shows that you really care about them outside of the salon. The first time that I ever bought a suit, I was so excited because this was the first time that I was ever like spending like real money on it. And I remember I went in because I had to price check it before I could buy it. And then I had to wait till my next paycheck in order to get it. And I was so excited and I walked in And the saleswoman comes up to me, she goes, "Can I help you with anything?" And I'm like, "I got this." Because I knew exactly where it was because I'd just been there like last week. So I get the suit, I go and try it on. I'm still gonna get it because I like it. I come out, and I know that I told the saleswoman I didn't need anything, but I was so disappointed that I wasn't shown anything. Like a lot of people don't like to be sold stuff, but we do like to shop and we do like to buy. And so the fact that I didn't get to see another shirt from that collection or a tie that would go really good with that suit, I felt disappointed in my experience. And I never went back to that store. And so I think that there is real value in products and saying to our clients, like, this is what I would best recommend for your hair. Maybe aren't going to buy it today. Maybe it's in their budget for next time. Maybe they just bought something and they got to use it up. But if we don't do the service of looking out for them after their salon visit, I think that we're doing them a disservice. The point is that whatever it is that you're passionate about, whatever it is that you're excited about, your enthusiasm for that will translate and get other people excited about it. With enthusiasm, then comes attitude. How many of you had somebody tell you not to go to beauty school? Okay, that's a good portion. Why did they say that? Not stable, because hair's not growing. Hair's always growing, so we'll say it's stable. Because you went to college for a real career.
I dropped out of college and did this instead, and they were like, "Why would you do that? You just threw away a whole career that
Sure.
you could have had."
Sure. What about over here?
You don't need a license.
Don't need a license? I disagree. Go ahead.
For me, it's not a real job.
Not a real
I
job.
used to work as an insurance agent before, so doing that sort of it's not a real stable.
Sure, stable. Okay. Yeah, I get it, right? Now, first thing, attitude, I think the biggest thing is believe in you. All of you ignored that information, and you should. Like, it's your choice. You get to do what you want to do. So don't let that noise in now that you're already in it. Now you got to continue that belief in you that you're going to make this successful. I feel for the people that project out and say, don't go to beauty school, don't be a hairstylist. And the reason is I don't think that they are coming at it from an angle of like, haters gonna hate, and that they're just trying to hold you back. I think that it's actually coming from a place of love. That their perception looking into our industry from the outside is low income, unstable stuff. And that it's not a condemnation of you, it's them trying to say, hey, I'm just looking out for you. Are you sure that that's the right thing? So instead of us getting our backs up against the wall and being like, come at me, right? Let's take it in, accept that their perception is their reality, but let's believe in ourselves enough to work past that so that we don't end up doing the same things that they think don't look good and don't look stable. And so in order for us to get there, we've got to have a lot of confidence. We've got to have a lot of confidence to push through that, because especially if it's people close to us that we admire and that we love, it's hard sometimes to put your blinders on and block out that message. So where does the confidence for us to get there come from? Yourself? Yeah. I think it comes from your internal dialogue. All throughout the day, a lot of us have this ongoing conversation with ourselves. From the moment we wake up, we're thinking about what we got to do, thinking about the day, you're talking to yourself, and whatever that message is and whatever that conversation is, that is going to be your most important conversation of the day. When we all chose to go to this school, hopefully we came in with the attitude of, I could be great at this. I could really kill it. Like, I could be so good that I'm going to really be able to make a career and support my life with this thing. And so we had this really strong internal dialogue to get us here. And then the next thing is we've got to get knowledge. Even if we are really confident, if you're confident and you don't have any knowledge, that's a bad recipe, right? That's a recipe for failure. And so we got to come to school. We got to get knowledge. We got to learn. We got to get our licensing, right? And so we get this knowledge, and then I think that this is where a lot of people get lost, and that's in the results, okay? And so I think that the way that we grow our talent and the way that we get better at what we do, we get better in such small increments that sometimes it's really hard to tell that you're getting better. Where are you guys at in hours-wise right now? Almost done. 1,200, 300? Okay. So at 1,200 hours, you've got maybe a couple months left, 2 months and a half. She's like, look at that clock. I'm counting down. All right. So 2.5 months left versus we dismissed the core group before, right? Those newbies, right? Okay. So their haircut probably sucks compared to where you're at now. They're going to be super proud of their haircut because it's their first one and they're going to be like, this was amazing, this was awesome. But then when they get to 1,200 hours, they're going to look back at their haircut and be like, man, that was not it. And I was so proud of that work at that time. Versus, I've now been doing hair for 16, 17 years or something. I'm much more confident in my work now because I can see the results of it, right? And so I think that sometimes because we don't either document it, take our photos and create our content or whatever, if we don't feel like we're seeing the results, we really start to talk down on ourselves. And the way that this sort of circle of confidence or circle of life thing would work is if you're not seeing the results that you want, the answer is to go back, double down, keep getting more knowledge, keep getting more knowledge. The problem is a lot of times when people don't see the results that they want, they do give up. They go, man, I already spent 20 grand to go to school. Look, it didn't even get me anything. Oh man, I took that extra makeup class. I didn't even get any better, right? And so we keep blaming the knowledge or we blame the class as opposed to being like, I need to take more classes. I need to practice more. I need to get better. And so you got to be really careful with the internal dialogue, the knowledge, and the results. Right now, I believe everybody in this room has taste, right? We can look at the hair and we could recognize what is beautiful about those images. And we probably get to a point where okay, so this is round graduation through the back, triangular layers through the top. This is round, we can break down the haircut and we can structurally see oh, I see how they did this. I understand how I would do it. And then sometimes, then we go to do it and we're like, I don't know what happened. It gets lost in translation between our head and our hands. And so you just have to continue to push through that gap in your taste and your talent. I love this image. This image of these two drawings of an eye are from the same artist, 12 years apart. Okay? And so the point is that talent is a pursuit. If you continuously work to get better, you can achieve what it is that you're trying to do. From Mr. Bob Ross, talent is a pursued interest. In other words, anything you are willing to practice, you can do. So enthusiasm, attitude, and then my next one, teamwork. It's harder flying solo. It really is. There's been such a move in our industry to have people go independent, to work solo. I just personally think that it makes it really a lot harder on the individual. Now, take it with a grain of salt, and I'm biased because we're an employment-based salon, but the way that we work, there's so much teamwork in it that I don't understand how people on their own would be better off. And I really think that going into this next year that there's going to be such a push of community. I think people really have a sense of wanting to belong and be a part of something much more than just themselves. And I think that you can get that. It doesn't have to come through work, but I think that if you're a part of something, that it can be a benefit to be around other people. And so with teamwork, I know that this is sort of a cliche that there is no I in team, but I believe it, okay? And continuing to use Chicago as our example, Sears Tower, my favorite building in the city, it's just so Chicago, you know? The design of the Sears Tower is actually that of 9 individual towers, okay? And so if you sort of trace them out there, you can see them better. So 9 individual towers. The thing about them is even though some of those towers would be amongst the tallest in the city on their own, they are too skinny to be structurally sound to stand on their own, right? They need the other 8 in order to make up the Sears Tower. And I think that that is always just sort of an analogy for teamwork. You know, I'm sure that there are people that are very, very talented that can do it on their own, but I'm not convinced that they wouldn't be able to do more or go further without the benefit of other people around them. And so when I look at the salon, like, yes, I'm assuming everybody in here wants to be a superstar, rock star hairstylist. In order to get there, maybe you need a protege or an assistant to help you along the way, right? Maybe you want to have a front desk support to be able to call, check in, work with people. Maybe you want the owner to be able to do inventory, make sure taxes and finances are all taken care of, help you with marketing, right? And so it is that teamwork that all comes together. And so while the cliche of there is no I in team, I think that there's no I in team other than the a-hole. And oftentimes when people start to change their perspective of, instead of I'm part of the team to I'm better than the team, or they're walking around, they're always pointing stuff out and going, they never do this right, or I'm the best one here, then go ahead, go off and do your own thing, right? Because I think it's that attitude that then culminates in the teamwork. The teamwork is what makes the experience, and the experience is what your clients are recommending to their friends and their family and stuff too. All right, so for those that said that this wasn't a stable career, why did they say that to you?
That there are like slow seasons and that sometimes the money won't always be there, which I don't know. That's true.
Okay. And that's where perspective is key, right? Because I could be the exact opposite perspective, right? I have grown up in the industry quite literally, like our original salon. You know, how many of you did your height markers in the kitchen at home? Mine were on the wall behind our front desk, so like I quite literally grew up in the salon. So I've been able to see people buy homes, go on vacations, put their kids through school, right? So like my perspective, this is a great industry. But if somebody is used to like only going and getting $15 haircuts and everything's in cash, that doesn't sound like a great career or a great industry. So what we're going to do is have a business plan. So this is how we're going to accomplish what it is that we want to do. I know that as creatives, numbers don't necessarily inspire us all the time. But I do think that numbers are important to at least understand, okay? Because numbers are simply a reflection of our performance. Nothing more than that. They're not scary. They're just sort of here's what's up. If you do not take any other notes from me today, at least write down some of these numbers so that you can then go back to those people and say, here's my business plan. Here's how I'm going to get there. So let's be real. The average income for a hairstylist in America, what do you think it is? It is not 100K.
35,000.
Right here. 34,000 was the last census report that I saw. Now, that is on average across the US. Chicago, we're a major city. Of course, life is more expensive here. But on average, stylist income is $34,000. My goal for my team is to push people to take home 100. That's what I want. And so that's what we do to try to push everybody to get to. Services. You guys do your tracking. You guys track numbers and stuff here, right? What do you think the average services per guest in America is? 2? It is 1.1. So what that looks like and what that means is that out of every 10 people that come to a salon, only one person gets an additional service. So 9 haircuts and then 1 cut and color, okay? Our goal, ideally, would be to get to people to do 2 services. Now again, that's on average, right? I'm not saying everybody does it, but our average, we want to get to 2.0. So, what about service price? What do you think the average service visit for that 1.1 service is? $45. This is across the US. You got to remember, a lot of the industry is going to be things like JCPenney salons, Supercuts, hair cuttery, right? Those are all going to be value brands. The goal, again, for us to do those kind of numbers is we want to get up at least above $80 in service, which I think is really reasonable, especially for our areas in River North and West Loop. $80 is really reasonable. So here's what we call the 100K plan. This is how we get our team to take home that kind of money. First off, our guest count. These are the people that are our regular clients. So everybody that says, Ben is my hairstylist. We want to get our regulars up to a total of 200 people in our client pool. Now again, I said, being in Chicago, we are blessed to have so many people. Okay? To fill our books, we have countless amounts of people to be able to do that with. Small town places that I've gone to, I'm like, you're going to need to draw from 4 towns around here, okay? Next one. This is how frequently do our clients need to come in? we're going to say on average about 6 weeks. Okay, so again, maybe if it's short hair like mine, maybe that's a 3 or 4 week haircut. Maybe if it's a long balayage, that's probably more like a 12-week visit. Somewhere in there, it's going to average out to about 6 weeks, which means that we're going to get about 8 visits a year. And then the last one is their service price. Just call it $100. We're looking at service and not retail. So again, maybe you're in a place where you can do a high-end haircut for $100. Maybe you're in a place where it's $50 haircut, $50 color. Doesn't matter. We're just trying to get up to that $100. With me so far? Okay, so if we take 200 times 8 visits a year times $100, that gives this stylist $160,000 a year in service revenue. Most places, if they're commission, are going to hover somewhere around 50%. So then that means that this stylist is taking home $80,000 in service wages. We get gratuities too, right? It's really important that we value our gratuities as real money and not just play money. Like, oh, it's cash. I could just go out to the bar with this. It's real money, right? And so our gratuities, 20% off of 160, is an additional $32,000 in tips. So that's how this stylist gets to taking home $112,000 a year. But yeah, so this is how we get there, you know? And you could also tweak these numbers, right? So let's say that you don't build 200 people. You only build 100. Well, then that maybe means that you need to tweak either the frequency or the dollar amount, right? So if I can only get 100 people, well, then maybe I need to up my service price to try to get to a larger number, right? But this is at least a model for you to be able to follow. How long before you guys want to get to that point? You know, and the thing is that it really is up to the individual in terms of what they're going to put into it in order to get there. And so if we go back to count and go learn some more numbers, I'm a believer that while it is important for everybody to be asking for new requests and pulling people in, it's also important for the business to have a brand that is going to bring people in. So I think that it's really important for you starting out to be in a place that has traffic, right? That has people coming in that is going to be able to say like, look, I know you're going to bring them back. I know you're going to ask for new referrals, but in order to get people to refer you, we've got to get you people first. And so in this graph, looking across the top, we're looking at monthly traffic. So are you getting 10 new clients a month, 20 new clients a month, or 30 new clients a month? The biggest and most important thing for us as stylists is that we have to get our clients to come back. That's retention. That's getting them to come back. And so then the question is, how many of those people are we retaining? 25, 50, 75%? You'll never retain 100%. I think a lot of people, we put a lot of love into our work, right? Because we love what we do. And if people don't come back, we can often take it so personally that they didn't come back. It's not personal. They just didn't come back. You'll never retain everybody. Okay, so now if we look at this graph, if I'm in a salon where I'm only getting 10 new clients a month, but I'm only retaining 25% of them, that means that each month I'm only really retaining or growing my clientele by 2 or 3 clients. Whereas if I'm in a high traffic place where I'm getting 30 new clients a month and I'm retaining 75% of them, I'm getting to retain like 22 or 23 people a month, okay? How long did we say it takes? Or how many people did we say it takes to get to that clientele? 200. So now we can look at this and we can say, this is how long it will take you to build 200 clients using these numbers. So if you're only retaining 25% of your clients and only getting 10 new clients per month, it's going to take you over 6.5 years to build your clientele. Do you want it to take that long? No, right? Whereas if we're really honed in and we're getting a lot of traffic and we're retaining a good amount of them, maybe it'll take us closer to like 1.5 years. Maybe 2 years at most would be reasonable. But I think that that's actually really encouraging so that we can be in the mindset of, look, I don't want to be spinning my wheels building my clientele forever. I want to have an idea and a vision and a plan, again, a plan on how long is it going to take me to get established and what am I going to put into it in order to get there. And that's really where systems come into play. What systems for success do we have? Now, in a creative field, I think that oftentimes when we talk about systems, it sounds, right? Like, I'm a creative. I don't do systems, okay? But the reality is, if we think about systems in a different way, we all have systems for different things in our lives, okay? It's the holidays right now. What are some holiday traditions that you love? Taking a shot on New Year's. What did you say?
I said eating the food.
Eating the food? Is there a dish that you like to make?
I don't cook.
Me neither, so that's good. We order. The point of those holiday traditions is we know that we always have a good time putting the trees under, or the packages under the tree, right? So we do it this way because we know that that's our tradition and that makes our holiday special. I always watch this movie because I love this holiday movie and it always makes me feel special. How about skincare rituals, right? A skincare ritual, it is a system to take care of your skin, but we call it a ritual so it sounds nicer. And there's, certain ways that you're supposed to go about it. Use your cleansers and foundations, but if you use them out of this system, they're not going to work properly, right? How about habits, right? Oftentimes we think of habits as a bad thing, but what about a good habit, right? These are my actual alarms. That's right, went and played this morning. If we develop good habits, right, our habits often then become our systems. My system for getting up in the morning is I have a habit of setting these 2 alarms. With all these things, guys, where you're at right now and where we've all been is where you're developing your habits, okay? It's where you're developing your systems. It's very easy to start to think, especially like as you get midway through, is I'll change it once I get my job. I'll change it once I graduate. The reality is that it becomes really hard to change your habits once they become ingrained. You guys are here for a year, year and a half, right? A year. Might be longer if you're doing like 3 days. But the point is that you're developing your habits. And so if you don't value doing a consultation, it's harder to value it later. If you get out of the habit of recommending products to people, whether you like the products here or not, if you get out of the habit of doing it, it's harder to get back into the habit of it later. Showing up on time, that is a habit that is hard to break later. And so with the habits that you're developing, how much does it cost to go to school here? But like really, what does it cost? $26,000. Okay, so $26,000 is what you have invested in yourself to go to school here. The return on that investment is going to be totally up to you and what you do with the information here. I heard that was Kathy that was mentioning all of the new programs that are coming, right? That we're going to reopen phase 2. Do it, right? There's only going to be 8 or 10 people in phase 2 at a time. You guys invested in doing phase 2. Does it cost more money to be in phase 2? No, right? So take the opportunity and get in the program. People that are paying that money, some people are going to leave here with a $35,000 experience because they did everything that they could. And when they graduate, they have more on their resume, they have more experience in their hands, and they got more out of this place. There's some people that are paying $26,000 and they're going to leave here with a $12,000 experience because they just want to come, they just want to be on their phone, they just want to do the bare minimum just to get by, right? And that's fine. But if I was spending that kind of money, I'd want to take as much out of that investment as possible. And so if you're building your habits and your systems, the thing that I think about is that systems give you predictable outcomes even on your worst days. Yes. So I used these images earlier, right? So looking at this redhead, we have the cutting system. The cutting system is something that unlocks our creativity so that we know if I want to create something like that, if I hold the hair at this angle, if I cut it at this length, I have a system in order to produce that. Whether I'm having a good day or not, I know that my graduation will graduate, that my layers will layer if I follow that system. The same thing with color, right? Color will do it. The 2-minute plan. Even if I don't have on my favorite jeans that day and I don't feel that great, if I go through the 2-minute plan to check my guest out, I'll still have a good checkout with that guest experience. So follow the systems in order to get through that. It is the consistency that builds your reputation. The Chicago dog. What goes on a Chicago hot dog? Everything. But what does not go on a Chicago hot dog? Ketchup. Ketchup. Do we know why that is? No. It's just the way it is. Right? It's just the way it is. When Chicago was born, that's what happened. They said no ketchup on hot dogs. But consistently, that is how places in Chicago have done their hot dogs, right? And that is how it built the reputation, it built the brand of that. And so if we as stylists have our clients coming in, and man, I came and saw Ben and he was so nice, he was energetic, he was fun, and then they come back the next time and I'm low energy, and I don't have ideas, and I seem like I don't care, they don't know what they're gonna get from me. And you know, maybe your client comes back another time because they're like, hey, he was really cool, I wanna see him again. But if we're inconsistent enough, it breaks. And then we don't build a reputation on anything good, we get a reputation based on inconsistencies, which is really hard to get over. All right, so we talked about why we came to school, we talked about how we're gonna do it. The last thing that's left is just to do it, right? Just go out there and get it done. And so, in our industry, it's really easy for us to find people that we admire. Who's somebody in the industry that you admire? And Tay? Who is that and why?
Hair. He put on wigs. He really good at it.
Okay.
He is celebrity status, yeah.
Okay.
Charge back, hey,
For the experience.
Sure. No, I'm in agreement with you. I think that it's really important that we find people in the industry that we admire. I think that one of the challenges is he charges $5K today. He did not charge that at a certain point, right? He earned that. When we look at our city, right? Going back and using our city as inspiration, we have beautiful architecture and we have these amazing skyscrapers, and you can't ignore them because they're massive and they're beautiful and they're super cool. I think of that as the icons in our industry too. They have built a very successful career, and it's very hard to ignore them because of that success and that profile that they built for themselves. But the amazing thing about our industry is that everybody starts at the same point. We all start in a beauty school format. And the only difference between the people that we admire that are out there is that they have more time ahead of us. They just have more time. And so you can't compare your talents or your income or status or whatever to somebody else that's got more time ahead of you. You just have to earn it. And so each person that has achieved that success in this industry has done it step by step, or has done it story by story, where you don't start building the building at the top. You start building the building at the bottom, right? And it's one client referral, one nice review, a little post that goes kind of viral, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds, but you just gotta keep building. You just gotta keep going with it. And so the two things that I would give you to focus on coming out of school is gonna be your style profile, which is what I call a consultation, and your content creation. Okay, so if we look at style profile, I think your style profile is one of the easiest and best parts of your experience that can set you apart from other stylists. You guys know the company Matrix and like Tabitha Coffee? They did a study a few years ago where they were asking stylists and they were asking salon clients about their salon experience. And they were talking about consultations. And when they asked stylists, do you do a consultation? 97% of stylists said that they did a consultation every time that they had a client. Okay? When they asked salon clients, how often do you get a consultation? They said, 7% said that they had never gotten a consultation. Exactly. So the question becomes, what is the difference in how a stylist defines a consultation versus what a client is looking for in a consultation? Because I don't think that they're liars, right? So I think that if a client is in our chair and we say, how was everything? You want to do it again? The stylist feels like, I did my job, I asked, I said, is it good? I gave them the opportunity. Whereas A client is clearly looking for something more, right? Whatever that means. They're asking, for something that feels more designed or that you're asking more questions. And so looking at how we can get into our style profile. So if you have a plan or a system for your style profile, it removes the guesswork. Because if I know that if I go up and I feel more calm and collected, it's going to be a better experience versus being like, what am I going to ask him? What am I going to, how do you like your hair, right? I want to be chill, calm down, right? Gives you your predictability and it improves your comfort. So we're going to think about these in two different ways. One is our welcome, and then one is our office space. With our welcome, these are the things that we want to focus on. We want to be engaged. Part of that experience of coming to meet you up at the front at the service desk, that is part of the experience with you. It doesn't start when you get to the chair, it starts when you go and greet them. And so whether that is you're going to be a handshaker, a fist bumper, a high fiver, whatever it is, figure out how you want to greet that client. That first 7 seconds, they're already making an impact. They're already feeling more comfort with you or however they're going to feel. When you take them to your station, remember that you are a host. All these stations out here, they all look the same. We dress in a lot of the same black and white and gray. So if they meet you and then you take off, they don't know where to go. And so if you're walking with them, leading them, you're more of a host than you are just disappearing and I'll go meet you at the station. When we're looking at our office space, in the photo of Susie here, she's doing a great example of this. We want to have as much eye contact first, okay? So if this is the chair, I either want to, if I have a station next to me that I can sit in with them so that we're eye to eye, or can I raise the chair up as high as possible so that we can be eye to eye? That, looking and meeting this way, it just feels more comfortable. Whereas if I'm like, what would you like to do with your hair today? This is like principal talking to you like you're in trouble. It's just an intimidating body position. And so my advice is always to try to make and connect eye to eye. And then when you step behind the client, that's when you kind of step more into analyzing the hair and making your recommendations. We are really good at being able to talk through the mirror because we're there. That's just what we do. A lot of times clients, they see us in the mirror and then they do one of these to try to turn and talk to you. You guys have that? Yeah, and you're like, no, don't do that. So questions to ask. First starting with just their overall experience with salons or with you or the school or whatever. But talking about the experience. Why were they looking to switch things up? How did you find us? Who recommended you? What was your favorite salon experience? When did you want to come? If they wanted to come in last week or this week, then that might help you with the pre-booking conversation. In terms of their style or their cut and color, what was your favorite haircut you ever had? Oftentimes, if it was their favorite haircut, maybe they want to go back to that. How often do they want to be in the salon? If somebody doesn't want to come in the salon every 4 weeks, then we can't really give them a style that's going to make or need that much maintenance. Or let's at least advise them in a different direction. When was the last time they changed their haircut or changed their color? When was the last visit? You guys get me? Yeah. But the point is that asking questions, just keep asking, right? And keep building these questions up, because this is the kind of stuff that I think that when those people say that they never got a consultation, this is what they're thinking. Like, it wasn't designed for me. They didn't even ask me what I do. Last one, style. How do they normally wear it? How much time do they spend on it? And what type of product do they use? Here's why I say product type, is I don't want to get into a brand battle with the person over what they use, and I'm not going to trash what they use anyway. Right. Okay, so if I say, what type of product do you use? And they say, well, I use Oribe mousse. I'm just going to say, okay, they use a mousse. So maybe then in my product choice today, I'm going to focus on what type of mousses that we have. Mousses? Mousses. So that it's at least a product that they're already comfortable with and familiar with. But I'm not going to be like, oh, you use Oribe? Or I'm not going to be like, oh, they use Oribe. That's expensive. Like, she's not going to want what we use, right? Doesn't matter. I'm going to always recommend the stuff that we have in-house anyway. Going through this list and thinking about it, you really get into developing and giving something back to the client. That lifestyle question is a big one. I'll tell you a story. I had a client one time and we did bangs, and she loved them. And I was so happy with them because she loved them. She came back the next time and I said, how were the bangs? How did you like them? And she said, I hated them. And I thought, what did I do? I thought that they looked good. And it turned out she was a kindergarten teacher. And so she was constantly bending over to pick up kids, and every time she bent over, they fell in her eyes, and she hated them. It wasn't because they were cut wrong. It was because her lifestyle needed something different. And so those are sort of the type of questions, like how do you interact with your hair? How often are you doing it? Do you need to get it back behind your ear? Do you want some pieces to fall out? Those are sort of the detail questions that people love. Okay, so we ask all these questions. We get in all this information. This is truly one of the hardest things I think about being a creative in this industry, is that while you are taking in information, you're formulating what you're going to do with it, and then you have to be ready to develop and like give them something right afterwards. And in order to do that, I like using the word because. All right? So I asked you how often you want to be in the salon. Because you said you don't want to come so frequently, I would recommend us doing more of a balayage style so that the maintenance is lower. You said that you have fine hair. Because of that, I would recommend we do a style like this and use extra body. That use of that dialogue connects whatever your recommendation is right back to how you developed it, because it was based off of something that they said that they wanted or that they needed. Let's talk about content a little bit. We got a few more minutes. All right? Clearly, I'm a content fan. I've got 3 cameras going today, which is a little much, but you know what? We're here once. We're making it. In terms of content creation, I think that it can be really overwhelming, but let's again have an idea and a system for how we're going to get there. So what content? I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of tired of seeing before and afters, right? The back of somebody's head with some curls in it, I don't think is really all that exciting anymore. But I think that one of the things that I would focus on is, again, using the face. Right? All of these images, it's of the model's face. And I think that real people, not hairstylists, but real people connect with the people and not just the curls and the flow. Right. With before and afters, I'm always cautious of before and afters because I don't want the before to feel like I'm throwing that client under the bus or that I'm throwing the other stylist under a bus. Right? I want to be respectful to everybody with the content that we create. But that's about creating content about what you do. How about content about how you do it? So you might be thinking, well, I don't have a lot of clients yet in order to do a lot of content. You can do content with tutorials. You can do demos, start to finish type stuff. Even if you just set up a camera and record it, you can make a reel out of just the time lapse of that experience with you, right? You don't even have to talk in it. You just let it roll. One of the best things that I heard about content was that it's about documenting and not creating. And I think that if you think about that, it makes it a little easier that you're not having to have so much going on that it's just documenting the stuff that you already did. Talk about why. Talk about your values, your character. Add a little bit of personality. And I say personality and I don't mean business. Like, if you give people a sense of who you are, I think that then people start to build a relationship with that person, and then they want to work with it. But that doesn't mean that putting out everything about you is the best way to get there. And then maybe you could just show off what the experience is, either as a guest giving a point of view, reviews that have been left for you, things like that. Right now, when you guys apply to your salons, most of the resumes in here are probably going to look the same. Your resumes are all going to look pretty similar, right? We went to school, maybe had another job outside of here. Maybe it was related to beauty, maybe it wasn't. Some people maybe worked at a salon a little bit. But like for the most part, it all looks the same, right? And so then if you go and you apply to your salon and they look up your Instagram and it's just hair, okay, well the next person's is all hair too. But if I look up your Instagram and I'm like, wow, they seemed like they really loved going to school. They made all these posts. Here's their look at doing a design team thing, or here's how excited they were about this new product launch. Then you get more connected to the person and not just the work. I just think that it's important to try to set yourself apart with those sort of things. All right? My two dogs, Penny and Buddy. As we start to wrap this up, there was a lot of stuff in here that I know you guys have already heard before, whether it was from school or from some other source, and I get it. The thing about Penny and Buddy is we play fetch. When I throw the ball for Penny, she goes, she gets it, she brings it back, she drops it. Throw it again, she goes, she gets it, brings it back. When I throw it for Buddy, he goes, he gets it, and then he doesn't release it. There's a difference between knowing how to play this game and there's a difference between actually playing the game. A lot of us have heard the information that I have said, and you probably go, I know that, I heard that, I've heard that before, right? But the point is, are you knowing it or are you doing it? And it's the people that go out and do it that end up having the success with it. So